Okay guys, one of the things, depending on the form of presentation you're going to use, if you're going to use a cast and retrieve form of presentation, the retrieve is a real critical part of what you're going to be doing with your fly. Retrieve has three parts. It has to do with the speed you pull it, the distance that you pull it, and the timing between the pulls. I'll give you an example of different types of retrieves, and it's all relative to the fly that you use as well as the depth that you're going to fish the fly in. You have to focus on the depth, and the depth is greatly affected by the retrieve you use. So if we're going to use, let's say, a bugger, a leech, or a minnow type retrieve, here, just look at my fingers on my hands on this rod. Now we make the cast, put the line over our fingers, and this is kind of a bugger style retrieve. It's about 8 to 10 inches long, semi-rapid in pull, and we just keep the fly as it moves across with these pulls. The colder the water, the speed that I'm pulling this right now might have to change. So if the water is really cold, I'm going to slow this down and it'll look like this. It'll be a lot slower pull, because fish don't want to chase anything when the water's cold. So that's another factor that we have to keep in mind. If you're using a small fly, like a pupa or any of the hare's ear, pheasant tails, prince nymphs, AP emergers, stillwater nymphs, whatever it might be, here's a good pull to use with those type of flies. It's a little 4 to 6 inches. This is the retrieve that I use a lot. Notice I've sped up my pull just a little bit, and I'm pulling about 6 to 8 inches. What that does, if I want to keep the fly higher in the water, I might speed it up like this. I find that the speed is not nearly as critical as the pause. So when you guys get your fly in there, just remember, fish usually take on the pause, not the pull. So if we're using a fly that we want to use a longer pull, whether it's a bugger or a small fly, it could be like this. And then all of a sudden, if I slow it down and put longer pauses between the pulls, the fly drops down. That drop down says to the fish that your fly is vulnerable. Whatever you're imitating, that insect is vulnerable. That's when they'll take it. You won't know it till you go to pull again and you'll feel something. So those are your basic retrieves. There's another one that's called the hand twist, which keeps the fly moving constantly through the water. It's done like this. Roll your hands over and just bring it up and walk the line back to you. Thumb and index finger, roll the fingers down and just keep doing it like this, right below your rod hand. And that'll keep it going throughout the entire retrieve. Those are your basic retrieves, you guys. You can vary it, a little more distance, a little faster pull, whatever, but try to keep those three retrieves in mind. Match it up with the fly you're using, you should do okay.